All right, welcome back, everyone, to Jets Flight Path. First episode of the new year. First episode in about 2 years, almost.
Yeah,
Uh,
a long 2 years, and
it's been
I guess
misery under
it's
the
been
Gase
misery.
era,
Yeah,
but thankfully, that's behind all of us. Gase is no longer the HC of the NYJ. Word to Bill Belichick, and it's just you knew from the beginning of the Gase era that it wasn't going to go well.
well, and I don't think I've ever seen Jets fans so universally bonded in agreement
Yeah,
when you got Matt Rule being interviewed, and you got this one coming from here, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this guy would be perfect for he's runs this system in college," and "Oh no, we want Kingsbury." I've never seen a candidate more universally despised as Adam Gase. And
yeah.
you could look on Twitter, you could look on Reddit, and it was just, from that alone, the Gase family, or excuse me, the Johnson family should have just been like, you know what?
Maybe we shouldn't listen to one
I
Peyton
think
Manning
it's
phone call.
time we don't put them together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this
And
is our this is our generation's Dan Marino, where obviously the Jets knew something that the fans out there didn't.
I,
So
that's that's exactly true. Gase is, I mean, he's worse than Rich Kotite, even though Kotite had the one win season. This year, especially considering the first win that the Jets got this season and how it dropped them from having the number one overall pick to now number two, it kind of hurts even worse than back in '96. I believe they went 1-15. Um, it's just, but enough of the negativity. That the Jets season, there was very few bright spots. I mean, some players, stood out. Frankie Louvu looked pretty good at times. Quinn Williams, second year development, but I think we can agree on is that Joe Douglas can draft better than any Jets GM since like basically Mangini when he was here with Tampa.
yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and a lot of people out there say you can't really judge a GM's draft, two until 2 3 years after that first class has been in the league. But I disagree. You look at the immediate impact of Mekhi Becton, arguably in his draft class. Out of the four top tackles, number four ranked, just because of his raw skill. He had footwork issues,
Mm-hmm.
but comes into camp, comes into the season, an absolute dominant force. Denzel Mims, again, he had that hamstring injury for most of the season, but in the 5 or 6 games that he played, he really showed flashes of I don't want to say stardom, but a very solid number two, low end
Mm-hmm.
number one, which is something the Jets haven't had at receiver for.
Not Stephen Hill or Devin Smith.
Yeah, no, no, and you look at them with Mims and Marcus May. I think the Jets' second round draft pick curse is officially lifted. I don't want to say it too prematurely, but you look at the play of Marcus May and Mims, and I think they got something cooking
I
with
think
these
so
two.
too. I think so
Um,
too. I think, yeah, like you said, like I think overall with the class, it's hard to tell. Like, uh, you know, after a few years, you could like officially grade it. But I feel that's more just specifically for like a position, like a quarterback. You can't judge, you know, like a quarterback. Well, they're a rookie and they kind of look all right, so they're a bust. Immediately get rid of them. No, you have to wait. I feel like after year three for a QB specifically, but as a class, you mentioned it. Becton stood out, one of the best like overall rookie tackles in the game. He was manhandling um, Nick Bosa in the Niners game
hmm
before he left out. He was doing pretty well against the best, probably the best overall player in the game, in Aaron Donald. He holding
Yeah,
his own as a rookie. That's pretty spectacular.
absolutely. And
Um,
you look at the size, 6'7", 300 plus pounds, and he's quick. So,
yes,
if you need him, if whoever is the new head coach decides to run the ball to the outside, put it behind Becton, because he can get
something
downfield and he can throw that downfield block.
Something that definitely needs to happen. More runs to the left, please, because it's at least a minimum 5 yard gain every time.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, Mims looked great. I mean, come on, we got the best punter in the league, Brandon Mann, seventh round pick. Man looks nice, and Ashton Davis, rookie year, looked all right. He looked like a pro.
Yeah.
I expect him year two, more development there. The only questionable pick, and I said it at the time, probably I'm assuming, um, and we'll get into it in a bit with the quarterback position, but I'm assuming James Morgan is going to be the basically the new Kellen Clemens, the long-term backup. But fourth round pick a bit early there. But yeah, Douglas Douglas is respected. That's the thing. This organization for the past decade has been a clown show, and now that the Cleveland Browns have finally made the playoffs for the first time in 18 years, the Jets now hold the longest playoff drought streak, having making it since 2010, and that needs to end. I don't care. The Chris Johnson can continually say, "Well, we don't have a playoff mandate." No, we want the playoffs. There's a seventh seed. I'm not expecting the Jets to win the AFC East outright in the 2021 season. I'm expecting at least a wild card. Like, that's not too much to ask with a new head coach, new energy coming in, a new quarterback coming in as well. But again, and talk about like all the negative stuff with Gase and the Johnsons and everything. But let's look forward to that. Let's look forward to the new coaches. And so far, the Jets have already their first interview was, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, soon to probably be a head coach. Um, Marvin Lewis, which once I saw that, I don't know if you got the notification. I didn't get any notification on, oh, the Jets interviewed Eric Bieniemy, one of the most highly touted, candidates out there. But as soon as I was like, of course, Marvin Lewis. But I think that's just a respect thing. There is that Douglas connection there with him as well. Douglas is one of the more respected GMs in the league, um, management figures. And today, the Jets also apparently or officially announced that they've interviewed or completed an interview with Robert Saleh, the Niners defensive coordinator. Out of just those three, because there is rumored other candidates, Paul, what do you think is the best option if there are those three?
You know,
Why is it Marvin Lewis, Paul?
Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis is, he's one of those coaches where, yeah, he's been around the game forever. He's taken Cincinnati to 7 playoff appearances, and he's 0-7 in the playoffs.
Hmm,
He's the reason why he wasn't hired last year. He goes the way of Mike McCarthy, who his scheming and his play calling and his overall, at least I think, way he approaches the game is outdated.
yeah,
So Marvin Lewis would be number 3 for me. Bieniemy is number 2.
really?
Great offensive coordinator, but you gotta question how much of that success is due to the personnel he has on his offense.
That's fair.
You're looking at uh, when it's all said and done. I think Pat Mahomes is going to be the greatest to ever do it. You got him as your quarterback. You got Tyreek Hill lining up at number one. Kelsey at tight end. The running backs, Sammy Watkins. The list goes on. How much of that is his play calling, and how much of it is, just the 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 Chiefs outclassing, essentially just outclassing whoever they play, because that
Right.
offense is so dominant.
The O line too.
Um, and
Even
yeah,
even
and,
with
and you
missing
know, you,
pieces, there one what's his name, Duvernay, the one of the he's either left or right tackle in Kansas City. He went to like go back to be a doctor to like help fight the pandemic, and I mean
right,
their O line took some blows this year, and they're still rolling as an offense.
yeah, and it's just, I think he's number 2. Um, and then number 1 would obviously be defensive coordinator from the 49ers.
Hubbard South.
You look at his last 4 years, 49ers defense, or as the coordinator. The defensive rating rankings from that team goes from 18, or I'm sorry, from 2 to 5. Hold on, I'm sorry. 18, 15, 5, and then 2. It was last year before this year.
Mhm.
Um, so, and I have a feeling he's like a Rex Ryan type of guy. As long as he could bring in a good coordinator and some good offensive minded coaches, I don't see why he would be he would be a problem as a head coach. I wouldn't mind him. That's what I'm looking at right now.
No,
And
yeah,
again, it could change. It could change based off whoever else they interview. But
yeah. Well,
yeah.
that's the other thing. There's still plenty of candidate. I mean, obviously, whoever they're truly interested, Douglas, and that's the one thing forgot to mention that apparently the Johnsons, because Woody will be coming back shortly, but he's not going to be too involved. It's still going to be Chris Johnson, but at the helm. But Joe Douglas is in complete and total control to hire his guy. There's not going to be. It's just basically going to be like Joe Douglas is going to turn to Chris Johnson. Here's who I want, and Chris Johnson's going to be like, okay. Which like finally some competency at that level that I haven't seen in all my years watching Jets football and just the clown show of well we're gonna keep Rex and hire a new GM and pair them together. Well, we're gonna hire Bowles first and then the GM McCagnon and pair them together. No, it goes to GM's the boss and then they pick the coach that they want, which is a good thing. But some other rumor names, at least one we could cross off. Adam Schefter reported earlier today. It's January 8th, so earlier today was Jim Harbaugh, rumored to go back to the NFL. The Jets might have been a match. He's staying with Michigan, signing a contract extension to 2025. Obviously, Bill Cowher, and Brian Billick. I always remember were the two like after they retired, people were like, "Are they going to come back to coach this bum team?" This is the situation for them. And Bill Cowher rumors started late December when Boomer Esiason, former Jets quarterback, on his radio show, was talking about how he might have some interest, implied interest, in the Jets job if they had the number one overall pick. They no longer have that. That number one overall pick would have been Trevor Lawrence. Again, we'll get into that in a bit. So I feel Cowher's a long shot at this point. And I would also say to put in that long shot category would be a Lincoln Riley from college and Matt Campbell as well from Iowa, who looks the part, but I think he wants to like turn Iowa State into like Alabama, like a true like powerhouse football program. But I think the Jets are reported to be like one of the few teams to look into college ranks, and Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern is an option. Some other options that have been constantly rumored for the Jets head coaching job has been Wink Martindale, the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, the Ravens offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, not too high on myself, Brian Dabble, the Bills offensive coordinator, who I think is going to be a great head coach, um, and Joe Brady, the Panthers offensive coordinator, has also been rumored. Like honestly, from that list, I would really like to see Brian Dabble, the Bills OC, because of what he was able to get out of or turn Josh Allen into. I mean, you and me both, and still like Josh Allen, we're critical of, but the Bills organization did right by him compared to how the Jets like quote unquote built around Sam Darnold, where each year the Bills, improve the offensive line, gathered weapons, whether it be Cole Beasley, John Brown on the outside, trading for Stephon Diggs, just constantly building up Josh Allen, coaching him up, again, compared to what the Jets did. And this OC, like, has turned the Bills' offense into something dangerous. And I think he would be, like, a pretty solid fit. To me, I don't know. Do you think the Jets would go more of an offensive route or a defensive route? Like,
Well, I think you're looking at the GM Joe Douglas. He's got a vision. Mainly in Philadelphia, what he did was he built up the trenches, and then
mhm.
from there you'd have whoever was at the back, being able to power through for 4 or 5 yards, give your quarterback time to throw, whether it be Wentz or Foles, let your receivers get separation. So I think just based off of what we know about Douglas, I think he might go offensive minded. Um, because you look at the defense, pieces are there. You just have to find a great coordinator or a strong coordinator to coach them up. But I think the name of the game is offense, because you look at the Jets, dead last in offense this year, 31st ranked offense last year, and they completely destroyed Sam Darnold. And it's not Joe Douglas's fault. It's only his first year here. But
He
you look at what
inherited this mess.
McCagnon put around. Absolutely. And you look at what McCagnon put around Sam Darnold. The worst offensive line for 2 years in a row. Basically, no receivers until I don't even know if you can say this year. I mean, is Jamison Crowder really was
Well, that
his
was
top target last year?
last year,
You
yeah,
know,
but that was
and
really
this
it.
year,
Yeah,
and there was no running game for him. There was absolutely nothing. Now, that's not to say that Darnold hasn't had problems of his own, but when you
right.
look at Darnold coming back from mononucleosis last year in that Dallas game, he was throwing all over them. And he had a stretch where he went 7-6 in the games, the rest of the season he played after coming back from mono. So, you're coming into the season, all right, this is the year where he makes a big stride. Now, under Adam Gase, he has regressed back to his rookie year, and
Hmm.
it's baffling. And you can argue a lot of things. Well, the play calling isn't to his specifications, and they didn't hire a quarterback coach. Instead, they let offensive coordinator Daryl Lott, who's I I don't know what he was doing on the sideline. I guess he was Gase's water boy. Coach Darnold, which it can work if you're a great coordinator and a great coach, a quarterback coach, but he was neither. So I don't know what he was doing. Um,
It's amazing. I can't recall a worse treatment of a young franchise quarterback. I mean, you could say Andrew Luck, um, but that's just injuries piling up. It's not necessarily that Luck didn't have weapons around him in terms of like T.Y.
well, and it
Hilton.
was it,
But like the Jets basically, like I've been saying it, David Carr'd him. Like when Houston entered the league, they drafted David Carr. I forget, like in the first round, and he was supposed to be the quarterback, but they had no O line. He was getting battered constantly. They didn't have anything around him. The coaching wasn't there, and he just flamed out. Now I think Darnold is more mentally tough. I think Darnold is going to move on. There's Jet fans out there who delusionally think that, what, we'll just keep Darnold and build around. Like, that's not happening. Douglas did not draft Sam Darnold. He's not going to tie, his rope to him, to this quarterback who's already been under two head coaches and hasn't looked very good, like you said, in his own. And the new head coach is going to come in. It's not going to want Donald. The Jets would absolutely draft one or trade for one. We'll get into that in a bit as well. But best for both parties, the Jets and Donald, to just like go their separate ways. I mean, I don't know if the Jets could like really recoup anything more than a third round pick at this point. Hopefully a second round pick. But hey, Douglas is a wizard. He fleeced Seattle out of not one, two first round picks, and what was it, a second round pick for a box safety. So
yeah, and I absolutely love that swindle. Jamal Adams, say what you want about him, great box linebacker.
yeah,
That's all he is.
he's Mark Barron
In coverage,
2.0.
yeah, in coverage, he's wet poopy. But he's really good at stuffing the run. He's really good at getting behind the line,
Mm-hmm.
uh, getting to the
Yeah,
quarterback.
he's great at being disruptive. He seems like
Yeah.
a lesser Troy Polamalu, which is still great. He's still a really good player, but it's just like I think Douglas has, like you said, the vision, and I don't believe in that future. Darnold it will be a part of it.
And it's unfortunate. I was for the longest time one of those delusional fans up until Justin Fields and Zach Wilson took the field in their respective bowl games, because Darnold is only 24 years old, 23 years old. No, he's 24. 24.
Hmm.
That's he's still a young kid.
He
Um,
could turn around
that play
with another team.
exactly, but I guess this is going into the next portion of what they're going to do with the second overall pick.
Yes.
Um, but I think they move on from Darnold, and I would send him to a place where he can succeed. If I'm the Jets or I'm Joe Douglas, and I want to, let Sam know, hey, sorry it didn't work out here, but we're going to give you the best chance to, succeed. I would send him to Pittsburgh. I would send him to New Orleans. I would even send him to Washington. I think with Washington Redskins, or I'm sorry,
Hmm.
well, we just got demonetized.
Was We're
The
canceled.
Washington football team has something going on down there that can become special in about 2 years. I really
I
like
think a year.
their
What the way if they get a quarterback. But continue. I'm sorry.
No, they like you said, they have the best front seven in football. Their coverage rarely breaks down. Their offense, they got a lot of young pieces. They got a great line. Alex Smith, you could learn behind Alex Smith. Running backs, receivers. I think the Redskins are going to, or the football team, excuse me, are going to dominate the
Hmm.
NFC East for years to come
Wow.
because the NFC East is a joke in itself. You got three other teams that are
It's the
just
meme
kind of,
division. Yeah.
yeah. And I think Dan Snyder's finally, okay, after what happened this last off season with the exposés of him,
The
having
scandal and
sex with
everything.
cheerleaders and having them send out nude photos and the whole,
The naming
Redskin name
change.
controversy. Yeah, so I think he's finally in the back seat, and he let Ron Rivera come in, a proven. I don't. Yeah, I would say a proven winner because his time down in
He went to the
Carolina,
Super Bowl
he
with Carolina.
he
He did
did.
well in 10 years
He did.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think he's the coach of the year. Well, in my opinion, how like, that the Washington's in the playoffs now. I don't not for long, but at least they got there. They took care of their own business. Yeah, and coaching like he had skin cancer, I believe. So coaching with that throughout the year, and you mentioned their defense. Like Jack Del Rio's the D coordinator down there. Not the best. One of those guys who is not the best head coach but a tremendous defensive coordinator. I think like a comparison would be like right now in Denver, Vic Fangio. Maybe not the best guy for a head coach, but a great defensive coordinator. Chuck Pagano's like that as well. Wade Phillips was like that for many years, just having a strong defense. But yeah, no, I think like besides knowing for certain that the Jets will have a new, not minding delusional Jet fans who believe Darnold will be here next season. The Jets and Jaguars will both have new starting quarterbacks for 2021. Other than these two teams, there's probably 8 to 10 other teams that might have a new starting quarterback next year. And trading Darnold to recoup possibly a second round pick to one of these teams is really possible, especially with Douglas at the helm.
No, yeah, I agree. And you look at, and I wouldn't say possibly get a second round pick. The Jets will get a second round pick for Sam Darnold.
That's the Joe Namath guarantee.
Oh no, that's the Mark Messier guarantee. We will
Oh,
get a second round pick. No, because you look at what Josh Rosen brought in, um,
yeah.
the second rounder from Miami, and he was on their Buccaneers practice squad before the 49ers scooped him up for the last two games of the season. Darnold, yeah, he hasn't played well, but again, he is young. He is still teachable. He's a consummate professional. How the
Hmm.
way he's handled all this in the media in New York, I can see a team absolutely giving up a second rounder for him, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, just more picks to add for Douglas to hopefully continue the rebuilding process, get this team competing as soon as possible. But let's go into that now second round pick because the Jets were well on their way to having the number one overall pick in the draft. But in typical Jets fashion, they had to win, and they had to win
Real
two, not
quick,
just one. Yes.
what happened after Mark Messier made that guarantee, Brian? Real quick.
I don't recall. We're talking about the Jets, Paul.
Right.
It,
Okay. Way to avoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 94 Nevermore. Is that it?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
It's a Jets podcast. Damn
I-
it.
yeah. But now the Jets own the number two overall pick in the draft. The assumption that most of us thought since the Jets won in Los Angeles and basically bringing misery to every Jets fan by just not winning, by just giving them something. But it is what it is. What's done is done, famously quoting. Um, the assumption up until recently has been whoever has the number one overall pick will be taking Trevor Lawrence, the phenom. They say the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck and since Peyton Manning. This guy is the real deal, and he looks the part in every way, shape, and form. But the Jaguars now own the number one overall pick, and the Jaguars are now flirting with the potential of hiring one Urban Meyer, former Ohio State head coach, who's looking to make the transition apparently into the NFL. And Urban Meyer coached Justin Fields, I believe, in his uh, freshman year. And there's that connection there. I mean, Fields looked great in the game. What game is that? Sugar Bowl? Fucking, pardon.
Yeah, it was with
Whatever. But
Clemson. Yeah, Sugar
yeah,
Bowl.
against Clemson. Looked really well through five touchdowns, I believe. Um, looked the part. So, in the national title game of Ohio State and Alabama will be happening on January the 11th. If I mean, as Jet fans, I like personally, I don't seeing the tape I've seen the tape of. I mean, Lawrence is like we've all seen. There's not even tape to look up because Clemson's always like in nationally televised. You can watch Trevor Lawrence anytime. Um, not to say you can't with Fields as well, but haven't paid attention much to Fields until I'd say once the Jets lost to LA, I was like, all right, let's look at these other QBs that aren't Lawrence. I looked at
Hmm.
Fields. I wasn't really impressed all that much. It's hard to say to make a comparable to the pro level, but like I guess maybe Kyler Murray, but not as fast, not as mobile. Uh, in a way, he does have a cannon of an arm, kind of like Kyler. He's taller than Kyler. Kyler's like short, very short, but I don't think he'll be all that successful. But I look at the BYU quarterback, and that people like saying, well, small school and everything like that. But you got to take care of your own business. I mean, that small school nonsense has been blown out of the water with Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming and looking like a playing and is at this point a top 10 quarterback in the league for the Bills. So Zach Wilson, he looks impressive. Now, one of our good friends, Nick, has compared him to Pat Mahomes, which I'm not. I
God
don't. That's a
Almighty.
bit. That's a bit strong, but he makes great reads and he makes like tighter throws. Like Fields, every time I see his highlights, it's like it's a clean pocket because it's Ohio State, of course. But like he has all the time in the world to throw, and he throws bombs, and they're there. But like every time he's like forced out or something, like it just doesn't look all that right. Like with Wilson, Wilson kind of like Darnold, better on the run and tight windows and just very accurate and also pro stop. Like he goes under center as well, which is a plus. So, but like that's the whole thing with this situation. If the Jaguars take Justin Fields one. The Jets are there's no other option. We're taking Lawrence. That's what we can hope. We can hope Justin Fields balls out against Alabama, but say Jacksonville just goes with the conventional, they take Lawrence. Who do we take? Do we take Wilson? Do we take Fields? Or many people are saying like the safest pick, the tackle, who would definitely go off the board at 3 with Miami, would be Penny Sewell. I don't. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce his name, which wouldn't be a bad option either. Putting him, Becton on the left tackle, Sewell on the right side, at right tackle. Pardon. That could be an option as well. But then you have the hole at quarterback. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was so this is where it gets you can get creative with this. So I was of the thought process that, okay, at number 2 they would draft that tackle because you might as well keep Darnold if you're not getting Lawrence.
Ah,
Build around the trenches. That was the thought process
mhm,
before these 2 bowl games. Now you look at the draft rating right now. So right now, if let me pull up who's where.
Mac Jones from Alabama is
So
an option too, maybe.
we know Jacksonville's at number 1.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens with Urban Meyer, which I don't think Urban Meyer would be that dumb to pass over Trevor Lawrence. But that's just me. We've seen weird things.
We've seen weird things.
So we're going to go with the assumption that the Jaguars have drafted Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so you have the Jets at 2, you have Miami at 3, you have Atlanta at 4.
Mm,
Now, this gets interesting because they still have maybe 2, 3 good years of Matt Ryan left.
mm-hmm.
Do you trade up with Atlanta and let them draft, a replacement for Julio Jones, who they're rumored to get rid of this offseason, in Jamar Chase or whatnot? I wouldn't go with Atlanta. I would maybe try to go with Philadelphia. Here's why. If you can trade back to 6, you look at uh, the picks before you in 6. Miami, like you said, even they don't know if they're good if they're still going to go with Tua. So
They're
there's a
going with two.
quarterback.
Don't be that.
I
Don't
don't
do
know.
that.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. But they will go with Sewell most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta at number 4, Jamar Chase, I think, because they still have 2, 3 good years left in Matt Ryan. The Bengals at 5, they need a receiver, so they just might end up trading back because if Chase is gone at
Well,
4,
the Bengals need a
you
bit of
know,
everything.
yeah, right. They need a little bit of everything, but they need that number 1 receiver for Joe Burrows.
Mm.
So they might just trade back in general, and whoever, maybe the Lions pick up and move up and take a quarterback. Who knows? At 6, the Jets have draft capital and potentially still have Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. I am currently indifferent between the both of them. I think any one of them are an upgrade over Darnold at this point.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
prefer
Yeah.
I would prefer him because I think he has the better arm talent, but Fields can extend plays and he can make you miss.
Mm-hmm.
From at 6, you draft your quarterback and then you go from there. It just makes sense in my opinion because
That would be kind of funny
you're
too, because at that, like, I feel, you mentioned Philadelphia, they need some O-line help. So imagine they cucking Miami at 2, but trading up and
yeah.
taking Sewell, and then Miami's left with jack shit, which would be pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing with Miami, or I'm sorry, not with Miami, with Philadelphia is, okay, so Carson Wentz is all but gone.
Yeah,
And you've
they're
seen
saying
Jalen
otherwise,
Hurts.
but I mean, come on.
He's done. He's finished.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts, I get it. He's a second round rookie. But if you're in a position to draft a quarterback, see, Philadelphia is is a wild card team here. Who knows what they're going to do?
yeah.
They're talking about moving on from Hurts. I think they stick with Hurts, and maybe they just start rebuilding the trenches, like you said. They take Sewell or they take fucking.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
that's
the
a really
best
good. He's
option.
a
That's really
top-rated
the
tackle.
yeah.
Yeah,
Philadelphia every year, I feel like for the past 5 years, the Eagles, well, another O line, another guy on their offensive line down, another offensive lineman down, like every other week for like the past 5 years or so. That's been the Eagles'
and I
biggest
feel
issue.
I feel like Jason Peters has been injured for the last 7 years, and he's like,
He's like
oh
100
yeah,
now.
he's coming out of retirement. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he was thinking about retiring, but the Eagles don't have any. But like, all right,
yeah.
but but
The draft's going to be
I would
definitely more interesting than years past.
I
It's
would
going to
trade
be,
back if I could. That's just me.
I, I think so too. Like it all depends. I mean, there's still plenty of time from now till when's the draft? End of April? Or they moved it back again or moved it
Yeah,
up? I have no idea now.
I think it's April,
Yeah,
end of April or
so
something.
like we
Now,
still have.
here's
Oh, continue.
if I can real quick.
Yeah.
Now, the other scenario that I was thinking about. Okay, so Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, great quarterbacks, but let's say they do trade back. They don't get one of them. They
Hmm.
still have Trey Lance on the board. They still
Oh
have
no.
Mac Jones. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. At the back end of the first, Kyle Trask. These are quarterbacks at the back end of the first. So they can trade back from 2 to 6, and let's say, oh, Philadelphia does grab a quarterback, and oh, so does Atlanta. There goes Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Okay, well they just traded back. They got a slew of picks from Philadelphia, another rounder, maybe another third, maybe a first next year as well.
Yeah.
And then from there, they'll at 6, you have maybe well, no, not Philadelphia, Cincinnati. I was gonna say Jamar Chase, but you have Devontae Smith, and you have
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, and you've got you know
You
guys who
got options.
can
Got like
help your rookie quarterback exactly. So it wouldn't be such a bad pick at the back end of the first to take a quarterback. I
now.
think it
How
all
about
depends on where that pick is.
this scenario? Because we know the Jets have the pick for the first time of year. The Jets aren't like, well, under the Douglas era so far. Like it's been about gathering picks and using them wisely. And they have premium picks now. They have two firsts this year and then two firsts in 2022. But the rumor, because of what's been going on lately down in Houston, is that Watson wants out, J.J. Watt wants out. The Texans are a mess. They just brought in um, former Patriots assistant GM Nick Caserio. He's now running things down there. Apparently, they wanted to, or Watson specifically wanted the Texans to interview Eric Bieniemy, but that never happened. And Christian Fourier, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. Up New England, former Patriots tight end, was reporting that Bieniemy wants nothing to do with the Texans job and really wants the Jets job. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I mean, no one really does, but when there's smoke, there's fire type thing. What if the Jets trade, say, their first this year, number 2 overall, and Darnold, and say a second to Houston for Watson? Would you do that?
I
I would do it in a
I,
heartbeat.
I hate that.
Why? What is wrong with you, sir?
Okay, so and this is why. He's a 25-year-old quarterback. I get it, completely get it. He is
Yeah,
arguably top 5.
yeah.
Completely get that. How much is his contract? Let's see. We're gonna
I
pull
think
that
he's
up.
getting 40 million. He's
No,
behind
no, it's
Mahomes. I know that
well.
for
I think
sure.
he's the second highest contract in the NFL. I know
Jets got the
Mahomes is
cap
based.
space.
Okay, but this is where it becomes important. So Patrick Mahomes has the highest contract where he just gets a percentage of the salary cap a year, which is insane.
Hmm.
Deshaun Watson has signed a 4-year, $156 million contract extension with the Houston Texans, which includes a $27 million signing bonus and $110 million guaranteed. All right. So the problem with this is in the future, you are going to have your rookies that you just drafted, such as Becton, who I think will eventually, maybe 2, 3 years, become the best left tackle in the league. You need money for him.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need money to sign an interior line or interior guard this year, which I can see the Jets throwing whatever they can at Dunny from New
Joe
England.
Donnie from yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that you have that. The Jets still have to attract free agents on the defensive side of the ball as well. Bryce Hill, or Hall, excuse me, not
Bryce
Hill.
Hall, yeah.
You got me thinking of Stephen Hill. 5th round pick. I think a
Another solid
great value
Douglas
pick.
pick. Yeah.
Phenomenal value pick. But, you still have to pay Marcus May. which he's a free safety, but I can see the Jets giving
I
him
don't.
10 million,
I don't.
maybe.
Whoa, whoa! You think they're paying me? Well, all right. We'll go into the.
No, the Jet. See, here's the problem with the Jets, and this is why Joe Douglas, I think, is you can't just start giving away your fucking talent and just letting them not re-sign. Marcus May, what he did without Jamal Adams this year, proved that he is deserving of a second contract. Now I
Yeah,
get it. He's 27 years old. Yeah, who cares? He's in this
he's a safety. Yeah, no, it's not Madden. No, I know.
right. Yeah, not Madden. Um, yeah, he's absolutely deserved a contract, and he's been vocal. He here, and Joe Douglas said he wants Marcus May here. So that's
Good.
$10 million right there to keep him. So between
Well, you
current
could.
and
Well, I'm sorry. You could, but you can just cut Henry. Henry Anderson is gone, and that man is making like 8 mil. So I'll just take that right off the top.
okay, so there's still 2 million that they still need. Denzel Mims, I'm sure they're going to keep around. I mean, it's still
Yeah,
way too early to see, but he's gonna require a few
I
million.
get what you're trying to
So
get at, but like, I mean, look how the Chiefs do every year. Look how the Saints have been running things year after year. The Patriots went, under the Brady Belichick dynasties. Like, they're up against the cap, but I'd rather be up against the cap and winning than just be having all this cap space and doing nothing with it. If the Jets
and
can
on
trade for a bona fide stud quarterback in Watson, and that brings in a guy like I mean, or like a quality head coach candidate, and you can build around him, and then the Jets would still have a first round pick this year, and the Jets would still, like I'm saying, like the Texans are a mess. If you could dump off Darnold, because if the Jets draft a quarterback now, let's just say let Fields or Wilson at two, whatever. In 4 years' time, you're going to have to pay them money if they're that good, and if they're not that good, then we're probably not winning that much. But with Watson, like I would much rather do that. Trade the two overall, trade a second, trade Darnold, throw in a three and a four, whatever you need. Just don't like give everything away
hey,
and go get like watch it. Like he's already, like you said, borderline top five QB. The contract is steep, but I mean, relatively, I mean, look like just imagine what is Justin Herbert gonna, in a few years' time. Like it's all relative.
well, no, and I completely get what you're saying, but you look at teams now. New England after Brady left, they're in cap hell. They're a complete mess right now.
But
New
they won six Super
Orleans right
Bowls.
now. Wait, listen. I want sustained success. That's just me.
Yeah,
So we're gonna pull up the New Orleans Saints cap space because they are fucked.
sure.
So right now, New Orleans, what are they? Second seed.
In the NFC, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking at it, like the
Hey, you still
Jets.
there?
Yeah, no, I'm still here. And
Oh yeah, you keep cutting in and out. So
all right, but yeah, like in the Jets, like in terms of free agents just this year, other than Marcus May, I'm looking at it like, I mean, Brian Poole, run it back for another 1 year deal. Perriman's gone; he did nothing. Bradley McDougal, they may just decide, to run out Ashton Davis, excuse me, opposite of May, and just let him walk. Jenkins, he's Calvin Pace 2.0. I expect him to be with the Jets for another 15 years. Neville Hewitt um, is solid inside linebacker, but that's the thing. With next year CJ Mosley coming back, that's an albatross of a contract that will eventually go away. So if they get Watson, like it's not too bad because in about 2 years' time, Mosley's huge contract is off the books. But for this year, for the 2021 season, you have him and Cashman, and uh, you know other guys. Like there's not a whole lot here in terms of Jets free agents that like you know Josh Adams, like Vincent Smith. I mean, I feel like, but you were bringing up. I'm sorry, you were bringing up the Saints cap to look at that.
yeah, so yeah, great team that's winning consistently, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so their cap space, they have $4.1 million available to them.
Okay.
So they still have an old Drew Brees who's making how much is he making?
It's
He's
probably
making
his
24
last year.
million this year.
Hmm.
Cameron Jordan's making 10. Jared Cook, I'm gonna say he's a fucking garbage tight end, making 10 million this year.
He's a
Jared
solid
Cook's
tight
fucking
end.
awful. No, he's
Did you
fucking
have him?
terrible, dude.
Did you have him in
No,
fantasy?
I
That's
didn't
why.
have him at all. Who did I have in fantasy? I had the Jonnu Smith from Tennessee and
Yeah,
shit, I'm
but those are
blanking on
guys.
it.
But see, teams like that, I get what you're saying, but they always rework the contracts. They always find a way to have an, and they have the talent. Like it's like it was like a few years ago. How the Rams afford all these players? Well, because they can, because they know how to work around like the cap space, or like the Niners. What did the Niners do? It's like, we need to free up some cap space. All right, we're going to trade DeForest Buckner for a first round pick, and we're going to use that first round pick to basically draft his replacement. Like that's how it's it's a continual cycle. And like I'd
I just
rather like because if that's an option, like why not take that route? Like cap space aside, what is the other downside to having Deshaun Watson as the New York Jets quarterback?
I would just rather have I would just rather draft a guy. It's cheaper. He's younger,
For
and
now,
you
though,
could work him to your system. Yeah, for now, but
I
I
mean,
just think the Jets should fucking just don't get involved in anything with Houston and just leave Watson to stew or let another team overpay for him because you're talking in regards to
what
well they're
was
only going to give
if
up a first.
Watson is available? What is the most you would pay for him right now?
Uh okay, so if the Jets weren't second overall,
No,
I would
as of
entertain
right
it.
now, like right currently, how everything's situated. I don't know. Houston has no draft picks, so
Right, they
they
got
need to bid
nothing.
everything.
Right. So I would give them a first this year. I would give them
Which first?
a third. I would give them a third this year. Well, this is just I'm just talking in general. If the Jets
Okay.
were let's say the Jets were 12th overall like they were last year, or 11th overall
Hmm.
like they were last year. I would give them 11 overall. I would give them a third this year, and then I would give them a second and a third next year. I think that's more than fair.
Yeah, but you know,
But when you see on Twitter, oh, the Texans are going to demand King's ransom, and some Jets guys are like, "Psh, psh, yeah, they're going to have to give up both firsts this year and next year, a
no, that
second this year."
Houston's not in
Like,
that
are you
position
out of
of.
your mind?
They're not in that position to demand anything. They've
No,
got Jack to work with. They don't have like any like really they have no picks. Their players aren't happy. They're faces of the franchise. J.J. Watt, arguably the best player in their franchise
now
history, is
let's talk. Let's talk about. I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, you're
Continue.
good. No, no, no.
I was going to say, if you want to talk about a trade with Houston,
Hmm.
J.J. Watt, I would take.
You for what? He's
Now,
38.
I, no, J.J. Watt is not 38.
I'm exaggerating, but he's getting it. He what is
Yeah,
he
I know.
like? He's turning
Well, I think he's
30.
on the final year of his contract anyway. J.J. Watt is 31 years old.
Oh boy.
So let's okay. Just listen.
Hmm.
So in 2020, he played all 16 games. He had 5 sacks, 36 tackles, 2 forced fumbles. So they could put him at defensive end, and what that would do is obviously who are you going to guard? You're going to double team J.J. Watt and let Quentin Williams come up the middle, or are you going to double team Williams, let Watt come up the middle, or are you going to focus on both of them and then let Jordan Jenkins on his fifth 1 year deal come through the edge and get the hit?
Right.
I don't think it's a bad deal to
For what?
and what are they gonna get for J.J. Watt realistically? Again,
This
you said
point,
they're
a
in no
fourth round
position.
pick.
Exactly, exactly,
I would
and
do that.
I would
Yeah.
give up the fourth round pick because he's at 31 years old. I still think he is well above average. Now he's had injury
Yeah.
problems over the past few years, but you know, every player has. I mean, you look at what's his face from Seattle that just signed, the one that played. I'm blanking on names.
What Seattle?
Shoot, right here. The one that played at South Carolina, and he was put that devastating hit down on.
Oh, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
signed with Tennessee, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
with Tennessee, and
He was with
you know,
Houston, went to Seattle, now is with Tennessee.
yes, and his presence helped, bolster that defense. Like, oh shit, now not only do we have to game plan for this guy, but now they got Clowney, and now we got and it creates nightmare matchups for the defense. So I would take J.J. Watt for, like you said, a fourth or fifth rounder. And you look
Hmm.
at his contract; he's only making 15.5, and I believe that this is next year's his last year, and I think that goes down to about 12. So on a 1 year deal, 4 year for JJ Watt for a fourth rounder, yeah, I'd go for it. Why not?
Yeah, I would do. I mean, this is a time like I would try to swindle. Like this has been the problem with the Jets in years past, where you see other teams like swindling, like out here getting like great players for like peanuts, and the Jets are just sitting on their hands. But with Douglas, we saw get the malcontent Adams out of there and end up, with a treasure. So hopefully they could get like Watt, screw a fourth round pick, get him for a sixth round pick. Trade for Watson, trade like the 20. I don't know what the Jets have, 27 or 28 overall. Trade that for
And
Watson straight up. See if they bite.
and going back to Watt real quick, the nice thing is, okay, so he bumps up to 17.5 in 2021. He's not guaranteed any of it, and if they cut him before June 1st, there's zero dead money. If they cut him after June 1st, there's zero dead money. If they
No, huh?
trade him, there's no. So even if they go, hey, what? We don't want you anymore, which would be stupid. They can cut him, and they don't have any dead cap. So I
Yeah.
think it's a win-win for both teams. Get rid of Watt, get a fourth rounder for him, and the fucking
His
Jets have
he's a
another
leader
another
too.
headache to worry about on deep. Absolutely, and he can mentor Quentin Williams, and he can mentor this guy, and he can do this and do that.
Yeah.
That's all for me. That's just
Yeah. No, I
but
wouldn't mind that as well.
I
I
would
mean,
I
if
would
the
stay
Texans
away
are going
from
to leave,
Deshaun Watson, and I would maybe go for J.J. Watt because I'd rather just draft my quarterback. And
I get
especially
it.
in the,
Yeah.
the situation that the Jets are in, they had who was supposed to be their franchise in Darnold, and coaching didn't work out, and you bring in Deshaun Watson, who I'm not saying, hey, look, we got Deshaun Watson,
I
you
don't
should come
think
work for us,
coaching
but
matters with Watson. I mean,
well, no.
he succeeded under Bill O'Brien, who, if Adam Gase wasn't a coach in the NFL, he would have been the overall worst coach in the league, and Watson
Oh, absolutely,
flourished.
absolutely. But I would just, and this is just me.
Mhm.
If I'm coming to a team, hey, you got the second overall pick, you got 100 million in cap space to work with. Hey, you got this, you got that. I would be more inclined because now I can take that team and work with Joe Douglas and
And mold it
build
into what
my
I want.
vision instead of,
Yeah.
hey, Deshaun Watson, you're a great talent, but you don't fit my scheme. I'm not going to come here, or oh, I'm limited with what I can do with him. That's just me. So
No, that makes total sense. I mean, there's arguments for both sides. I think the Jets are in a even though not no longer number one, they're still in a tremendous position of power, something they've rarely been in at this point in years past. And it's kind of like the football gods gave him like a mulligan. Like, all right, we gave you Darnold, you fucked it up because of course you did. So now here's another chance. Here's another opportunity to have at it. Um, but with that, I mean, we kind of covered everything. Just an early outlook to the off season. I feel like we recapped the season pretty well. We'll look into our next episode with uh, going more further in depth with the Jets free agents, who we think will be here. We'll look at other NFL free agents and where they'll go, and how that'll wind up. But why don't we just like give our playoff picks? It is on the eve
perfect.
of quote unquote super wild card weekend. Now there's 6 rather than 4 games this weekend. Uh, and the first game on the docket is the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are going to murder them.
Yeah. Now, did I know that Cuomo was talking about having fans at the game? Do you know
Yes.
if there are fans going
Y-
to Buffalo?
I believe so. I believe it's about 6,500 or it might be 6,250,
Ugh.
which doesn't sound a whole lot, but
Could you
the
imagine the
Bills
prices
fans,
of those tickets?
oof,
Oof,
Bills fans are crazy enough. Bills
that's got to
Mafia
be
will
rough.
pay for it.
Oh, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think Buffalo tramples over Indianapolis, and don't be surprised to see Indianapolis with Carson Wentz on their roster next year.
That is true. One friend is a diehard Colts fan and has been hinting at it for
Oh,
pretty
let's
well.
go Wentz.
The Frank Reich connection from Philadelphia, I could definitely see that. Unless the Colts just want to run it back with Philip Rivers again, we'll see. So we're both in agreement on there. The next game is the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks, an NFC West rivalry. I I really don't care about this matchup either way. I'll go with Seattle, being that they're a home team, but I think both teams aren't going to last long in the playoffs.
I think I'm going to go with LA, and the reason why I go with LA, defensively, they are much more astute
Mm-hmm.
than
Then Seattle, yeah.
Seattle. Seattle can't cover a nosebleed,
Well, that's the thing.
and
Seattle, I don't know. Seattle has a better offense. I don't know if you agree with
it,
that.
it it all depends on which Jared Goff comes to play. I think if Jared Goff is the game manager, I think LA wins. If he
Mm-hmm.
tries to do too much, then Seattle. But I'm going LA.
All right. And then the night game for the to finish the Saturday trifecta is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Washington football team. And throughout, like I was feeling like there's something about Washington, and I had good feelings about them because I felt that they were going to beat the Eagles, but that game was just bad. Like they didn't look too well. Like the defense looked solid enough, but I mean, you're going against a Bruce Arians coach team with Brady at the helm, who just threw for 40 touchdowns at his age, whatever, 42, 43 season for the second time in his career. They might not have Mike Evans. It might not matter. They still have Antonio Brown. They have Chris Godwin and Gronk, and Cameron Brate and everybody. I think it'll be pretty low scoring, um, like maybe 23 to like 17, something like that. But I think Tampa Bay ends up winning it.
I am going against the grain again, and I am
Ooh,
telling you, the Washington football team will take the W.
really? You think that Chase
Yes.
Young is gonna bring
I think
nightmares to Brady?
Yeah, and you know what? It's sad because if he doesn't, he's going to get mocked on Twitter. But I like what he's doing. Hey, this is my first playoff game. I'm going up against one of the best ever. I'm going to bring it to him.
Yeah.
And Seattle, like I said, they are Seattle. Washington has the best front seven in football, in my opinion. And if it's not Chase Young, it's going to be Kerrigan to come through the middle, or it's going to be this one. And their coverage rarely breaks down. And you have Alex Smith, who I'm just going to say right now, they're going to rename the award after him. Comeback, Alex Smith, comeback player of the year. What he's done is unbelievable,
Yeah.
and he deserves the award, and he deserves everything he gets from right now until the end of his career. You can put it down. Washington wins 24-17.
Oh, I was feeling Washington, but it's just like on paper, it's just looking rough. But they do have, I mean, there is no fans, but playoff
It
the
is a
playoff
cold weather
feel,
stadium.
playoff and fight. That's true. I don't know how the weather. I haven't even checked how the weather's going to be, but I mean,
It's going to
Tampa
be
Bay.
fucking cold, dude.
It's going to be cold in DC compared to Tampa. So there go with that. The Sunday games, the slate starts off with the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans, a rematch of last year's AFC divisional round. This time, the Titans are the home team, the AFC South champions. I'm sticking with my Titans. I don't think the Ravens have a shot. Lamar looked and I feel played his best game in Week 17 against Cincinnati. He looked really sharp. more accurate than he normally is. But I just feel like, how do you stop Derrick Henry? That's the thing. If the Titans get out to a lead and everything, they're just gonna they get out. The Titans only need like 10, start out like 10-0 or like 13-3, something like that, and I think it's a wrap. I don't think Baltimore can come
Yeah,
back, even though Tennessee's defense is not that good this year. I think Derrick Henry. I mean, he's now what, the eighth running back in NFL history to get 2,000 yards. I'm going
in a
with the
season.
Titans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tennessee wins. I don't think it's as bad as you're going to make it. Yes, Lamar has looked pedestrian this year. The Ravens as a whole have just looked pedestrian, and
Hmm.
that's the thing with scrambling quarterbacks. Um, you know, Kaepernick was one. Um,
Cam.
he had his first 10, 11 games where he was cooking, and then the next season the game plans caught on to him, and then he was forced to throw the ball. Well, that's kind of what's happening to
He has
Jackson,
to
although
learn.
he has to be able to throw the ball in tighter windows, be a little bit more accurate. Not taking away the fact that he's still the best rushing quarterback in the league, but he's
Yes.
not Michael Vick that can do it both. So yeah, I take Tennessee. Um, I'm going to say it's a little bit closer. Again, it's probably going to be 28-21. That's what I put it at.
I'll go with 28-13 for the Titans. Next game is a pretty interesting one. The Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints should have Alvin Kamara back. They have Breeze. They have all the weapons. Michael Thomas, Manuel Sanders, and Bunch. Saints in the Superdome are hard to beat unless they go up against the Minnesota Vikings. And the Bears, it is a credit to Matt Nagy, having to coach with terrible quarterback play, whether it is Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky. And but the Bears have looked, all right as of late. The Bears, their kryptonite is obviously the Packers, but this is I don't know, it's intriguing. I think I'll go with the Saints. I think maybe like it'll be close to like 23-20. I feel, but like because the Saints have been in like pretty low scoring games. They're a team that plays down to their opponents, and the Bears have a great defense under Pagano. David Montgomery looks really good, but it's just, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky's not good.
No, he's fucking terrible. And Trubisky, not Trubinsky,
Trubinsky, well, there's a
will not
butch.
have a job next year. So I can absolutely see the Bears moving up in the draft to overreach on a back end quarterback like Trey Lance or Mac Jones or
Yeah, yeah.
I absolutely see them overreaching like they did for Trubisky, and the punishment in Chicago will continue. With that being said, Saints by 30.
By 30. Oh my
No,
goodness.
it's gonna be a slaughtering, but
Jeez.
it'll be New Orleans 32, Chicago 13.
All right. And the final game, I think the best game to put on last. The Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Browns haven't made the playoffs since 2002. A rematch from just last week, week 17. Cleveland won and they're in, but they beat Pittsburgh's JV squad. Now, a lot of people the past month and a half have doubted the Steelers. When the Steelers, I think they started out what, like 10-1 or something like that. A lot of people call them frauds. I'm still a believer in Mike Tomlin and Big Ben, and that the Pittsburgh Steelers still have a run in them. Uh, I think they take the Browns to cleaners. I think like 42 to like 13. But it's nice just to have this game last just to see the Browns in the playoffs, but it's not going to last long.
Yeah, I am going to again go against the grain. Pittsburgh
Oh,
was exposed heavy by
wow.
Washington, and they were exposed by Cincinnati. Um, I think the most overrated 10-0 team I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And I think Cleveland, a close game, it'll be a 3-point game, pulls it out.
All right. So
Uh,
you have no faith in Mike Tomlin and you like the experience, Big Ben. two-time Super Bowl winning
No,
quarterback, Hall of Famer. You don't think that experience comes into
no,
play? The Browns have
because
not been in the playoffs forever.
and that's fine. The problem is, you look at Pittsburgh. I think they had a total of like 53, 54, 55 drops, somewhere around that range, the
Hmm.
most in the NFL uh, eh, this season. Their receivers just can't hold on to the ball. They can't run the ball. They have no running backs.
Yep.
So you're going to have Big Ben throw fucking 50 times this game.
They did
And,
lose one of their offensive linemen too. I forget who. I think
yes,
Villanueva might have been. Not sure.
oh yeah, their left tackle, they're done. Yeah, they're finished. Miles Garrett is on a rampage after what happened to him last year, with Mason Rudolph, and,
He's just gonna
and
ignore Big Ben and go straight to the sideline towards Mason Rudolph.
hike. You used to see him
It just
fucking right
horizontally,
over.
just yeah.
Um, no, but I think this is Cleveland's game to lose.
Wow,
Cleveland is gonna turn some heads, and Cleveland wins
wow.
a 3-point game, 24-21.
That's the most shocking one I believe. But those are some interesting picks from both of us here. Again, we'll talk next episode. Probably be a bit shorter. We'll go into the free agents a bit more. Yeah, guys to re-sign for the Jets, and we, touch on some like Marcus May and Brian Poole. We'll go more in depth. Other NFL free agents. We'll talk about like
And
historically Jets free agent acquisitions and what else, Paul?
real quick, I wanted to say this since the beginning of the show when we were talking about guys who impressed us.
Yes,
Uh, Joe Douglas, you better give Franklin Myers an extension. Uh, what
not
an
a big one,
animal
but
they picked. No, 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 no. But he's deserved it. Picked him up from the
20 million a
Rams.
year, Franklin Myers.
20, 25 million a year. The money that you're going to pay J.J. Watt with that fourth round pick. No, but Franklin Myers is another piece, and I hope they keep him around. But anyway,
I
sorry to
think
interrupt.
no, 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 no. I think that's another solid point. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, that guys stood out this year, like a Franklin Myers, like a Frankie Louvu. It's been around for a while now, but like who stepped up in a year that was filled with misery. Some guys shown some bright spots to be a part of building blocks for the future, and Franklin Myers definitely building up that defensive line. Like I said, Joe Douglas went in the trenches, build up the O line, build up the D line, work inwards to outwards. But yep,
Yep,
that'll be us here from Jets Flight Path. I'm Brian.
and I am Paul. We will talk to you next time.